Hi everyone, I'm Arisa Ugu, and welcome to another episode of The Bridge. Today we'll be tackling pensions, and in the studio with us we have Bolanle Shobowale, who's the head of customer experience at Stanbic IBTC Pensions, and Rema Akagbogu, who is the head retail artist at House of Tara. So today we're going to be talking about pensions, which is usually kind of a snooze fest for a lot of millennials. When you hear words like pensions or retirement plan, you kind of go to sleep. But your pension and your retirement plan is basically really, really important because it means that you have to have enough money to live the lifestyle you become accustomed to even when you stop working. And today we have two really interesting guests in the studio. Bolanle Shobowale, who is the head of customer experience at Stanbic IBTC Pensions. Thank you for coming to the studio.
Thank you.
And we have Rema Akagbogu, who is the head of retail artists in House of Tara.
Yes.
So, Rema, you have a pension, Abi?
Yes, I do.
House of Tara makes sure that you have a pension.
Well, yes.
Because
now we
like
do.
That.
Yes. Now I have a pension.
So, tell me a little bit about your experience and, the issues or good times you've had with your pension fund.
Okay, so basically I've worked in House of Tara, and this is my 8th year. And then I think in about the 4th year, they came to us and said we needed to have pensions accounts, that it had become something that was statutory by the government and we needed to have it. And I'm like, okay. So they said to us that the company is going to contribute a fraction and you contribute another fraction.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that means that my salary was going to go down. Yeah. Right. And then, from a generation where we believe that you only live once, this is when you have to live your life. We have a life expectancy that's like 47, and you tell me that I cannot access the money till I'm like 55. But the government has said we should do it, right? So we have to just do it. But really, it's just something we just do, not because we understand it or because we want to do it, but because the government has mandated that we do it.
It's so interesting. Like, every time I talk to like young people or people in general, people see their pension as a punishment.
It is.
They don't see it as something that is good for them or that, they're saving towards something valuable, like in the future. So what do you do to sort of get people excited about, their pensions?
Okay, thank you very much, Arise. And like Rema rightly said, you know what, I really don't want to do it. It's not interesting. And I think it's just the general culture of savings that we have in the country. Nigerians are quite immediate. People don't really like delayed gratification. So rather than people work, retire, and then become a burden to the government then introduced the contributory pension scheme, such that, while you're working, a part of your salary is going into your retirement, and even your employer, as it were, is expected to also contribute to that.
So what percentage is this contribution? What's the minimum contribution that I have to put in? And what's the minimum contribution that my employer can put in? Okay,
so we have what is called the statutory contribution, which is 18% today. 18%, where 8% comes from you as the employee, and 10% is contributed by your employer.
That's very interesting. So do a lot of employers sort of come on board with this? Because I'm sure that there are people who will say, listen, please, I can barely pay salaries, and then you're not expecting me to put 10% on top of that.
Truthfully, when you look at good organizations, and not necessarily that they are blue chip or they are quoted or whatever, especially the employee portion, if you've deducted it from people, you're mandated to remit it. And so you don't have a choice as an employer than to match it. So when an employer or an organization is going through at times, it's not one of those things you want to put at the back burner and say, we'll sort out other things. We'll come back to this later. Because more often than not, people rarely come back to it because they just go like, we'll sort it out. If you're deducting people's salary and pensions, you must remit it, and you must ensure that you match it. Now, that's for the statutory one. There's something that is also called voluntary contribution, where you're saying, I have an idea of how I want to live when I retire. I want to retire at age 45. I want to retire to the Bahamas. And 18% is really small, I must tell you. 18% is really, really small. So a lot of people then say, 30-40% of my income, actually go into voluntary contribution, so that at least I can actually increase what I have at my disposal at retirement.
That's actually very interesting because from what you're saying, people have to put in a minimum of 18%. And for some people, they actually volunteer to put 30 to 40% of their income towards their pension. Absolutely. So you must inspire a lot of trust to be able to get that. Because a lot of people will say, okay, do you know what? If I'm giving you this money and I'm hoping that you're going to grow it for me over a period of time, say even 30 years, 40 years, what are you investing the money in?
Okay, so I'll take the first question where you spoke about trust. So when you look at the legacy companies that made up the Stanbic IBTC family, you have the Stanbic Bait and you have the IBTC. So IBTC used to be purely an investment bank. And so prior to the merger, what we were really, really known for in the marketplace was investment banking. And so you found a lot of people saying, you know what, due to the legacy issues that had plagued the pension industry, we don't want our monies to go that way. Let's just give it to a trusted and let's give it to someone that we can trust, that we know has got expertise to manage it.
Sure. So I have a question. What happens if my money gets lost in an investment that goes bad?
Okay, so that was going to take me to the investment in the various asset classes. Okay. So you don't have more than a particular percentage in an asset class. It's actually one of the most regulated industries. Yeah, the pension. As in, I've done banking, there is no industry as regulated as this. You can't even say, you know what, I have some very bright ideas and I want to put people's monies. Like it's people's future. So I can't wake up and say, you know what, I think this particular stock
so it's generally risk averse.
Not risk averse, but it's just to make sure that it's diversified, it's spread, such that if one asset class is not doing very well, there would be something else that would augment for it. And even in the new multi-fund structure, you can actually move funds. So the power is now back to you, as it were, as a contributor. You can look at it in the course of the year and say, you know what, I think I want to move funds. I think Fund 1 is doing better. Even though I thought Fund 2 is doing better, I thought Fund 1 was more aggressive. You have that liberty. What it just means is that if you're moving, the first time you're moving in the year, you move for free. You don't get charged. But even if in the course of the year, you've moved once and you want to move again, by all means, just that there will be some charges to it. So the likelihood of you losing money. It's slim. It's slim, and don't forget, it's a long-term investment, and across. So for you to lose money, as it were, the government bonds must have gone bad. So across all of the funds, the government bonds is actually one where they get a very large chunk of investment. Now, government bonds don't go bad, except the country. They're actually very secured investments. So Rema, I'm sure you're here with me on this. Not a lot of, especially in our generation, not a lot of people are going to spend 30 years working for one employer. No. So what happens if Rema goes from working at House of Tara? I didn't say that you're leaving House of Tara. No, that's okay. But, going from working at House of Tara to working somewhere else or starting her own business, how does she access her pension fund? So I imagine this would be a challenge for a lot of people. When they move jobs. Okay, not necessarily. So your RSA PIN, as it's called, it's a unique identifier. It's irrelevant where you were working before. It moves with you. So if you change 10 employers, your RSA PIN remains the same. So are you saying if I had my pension with Stanbic IBTC Pensions and I moved to, say, a financial institution that uses Crusader Sterling as their fund managers, will I be able to move from you to Crusader? No, you're not moving. What I mean when I say your RSA fund and PIN moves with you is that irrespective of where you work, all you need to do is give your employer your RSA PIN. So an employer can't say to you, I use a particular PFA. The choice of who you use is up to you as an employee, and it's not a complex exercise. That's so amazing. That is so amazing. I've learned a lot from this episode about retirement. Yes, I'm still of the opinion that people need to be investing separately outside of their pension, because if you calculate that amount of money that you're setting aside every month, even if it looks painful. Let's continue the conversation on social media. You can follow me on @SmartMoneyArisa. Thank you so much for watching, guys.